Hi, good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us, and welcome to Conservation Conversations. My name is Ed Pritchard, and I work for the Miami-Dade County Parks Department. This webinar series is a joint effort between UF IFAS Extension, Florida Sea Grant, Miami-Dade County Parks, and Miami Eco Adventures. For those that are new to the series, we welcome you and thank you for taking the time tonight to participate. Just a few housekeeping items before we get started with the presentation. Everyone in the webinar is currently muted and your cameras are turned off. We do encourage participation though, and we do that through our Q&A session at the end of the presentation. So we ask that if you have any questions, please put those in the chat box and I will moderate that throughout. We will take that time at the end to pose those questions to our presenter. Just a reminder that this webinar is being recorded and a link to the recording will be sent out within the next week. So please feel free to share this with friends and colleagues. And you can follow us on social media at Miami Eco Adventures and at Miami-Dade Sea Grant, where we will advertise upcoming webinar topics, as well as showcase related content. If you'd like to receive an email reminder with the upcoming conservation topics and the registration links, we'll put Anna's email in the chat, and you can send that email to her requesting that. Now I'm excited to introduce tonight's presenter, Maddie Kaufman. She's the Program and Outreach Director at Debris Free Oceans. Maddie, take it away.
Awesome. Thank you so much for having me. I'm putting my camera on real quick so you guys can have a face to the name. But then I'll turn it off for the slides and then see you all again during Q&A. But yeah, thanks for having me. And I'm going to present about this exciting project, Plastic Free Cities, where we've been empowering youth and businesses to stop plastic pollution in their communities and why it's so important and how you can get involved. And so before I dive in, I just wanted to quickly introduce myself and give me a little more background about me. I received my Master of Science from the University of Miami with a focus in marine biology. And I now also lecture a class at the University of Miami. I'm actually gonna put my camera back on. I'm kind of used to seeing myself as I speak. A lecturer at the University of Miami in ecosystem restoration, big scuba diver, PADI dive master, and a scientific diver. And I also sit on Anna's Florida Sea Grant Extension Advisory Committee and help provide input and feedback on her projects. But today I'm wearing my other hat, which is Debris Free Oceans. I'm our Program and Outreach Director. We are a Miami-based nonprofit that's been working in Miami-Dade County since 2014. So our 10-year birthday next year. We do community events and cleanups. We've picked up over 50,000 pounds of trash with over 10,000 volunteers. We do education in schools and have been fortunate enough to have the opportunity to educate over 13,000 students. And then we also do sustainability consulting with small businesses and also local governments to help them eliminate waste, and have eliminated over 2 million single-use plastics from the waste streams and landfills. And so kind of jump in some background of this project, some of the information about why we're doing this in the first place. I don't know if you've seen the latest research that estimates there's about 170 trillion pieces of plastic in the ocean, which is very hard to understand. One amazing local news reporter that some of you on this call might know, Louis Aguirre, kind of drew this comparison where that's 20,000 pieces of plastic for every person on this planet. So for every 8 billion people on here. And it's a global problem and a local problem. These are pictures from International Coastal Cleanup Day events throughout the world with Ocean Conservancy. Some of you have also probably participated in ICC, where volunteers from around the world are mobilized to do cleanups on the same single day, coordinated globally by Ocean Conservancy, but locally by our amazing local organization, volunteercleanup.org. And yeah, these are pictures from ICC cleanups where you can see it. It's all over the world, and it's not just coastal, it's also an inland issue. This is a cleanup we co-hosted in Hialeah. And single-use plastics are becoming more and more of a problem. This is information, again, from ICC. I don't know if you've heard of the app CleanSwell. It's an amazing user-friendly app where you can collect data about trash you see in your neighborhood or on beach cleanups, and you can submit itemized data to this app, and it populates a global database that they create these really important reports on. And these are some of the top items that are picked up all around the world. We've got food wrappers, cigarette butts, beverage bottles, bottle caps. And, this is where I normally ask what they have in common, which we've already led with plastic. So they're made of plastic, but they're also all single use. So we use them for a matter of seconds to minutes and then dispose of them. And that's a problem because plastic is a permanent material, and it doesn't really make sense to use a permanent material to make something that we dispose of immediately and use in masses. And plastics are made from, like 99% of them are made from oil and gas and are synthesized in the lab to make these like very resistant to biodegradation materials. But they do photodegrade. So they don't biodegrade. There aren't organisms that eat it and convert it into CO2 and water and naturally occurring elements. But they do photodegrade and break apart into smaller and smaller pieces known as microplastics, which some of you on this call might have known about. And so it's a global issue, but zooming in locally, we face particularly problematic problems. This is information from it was called the Circularity Assessment Protocol, the CAP, that was conducted in the city of Miami back in 2021, involving amazing researchers from University of Georgia. And they looked at just kind of waste generation and waste management and circularity in our city. And they found that compared to the national average, so everyone around the world, or not world, states, around the United States, the national average for amount of trash the average person produces every day is about 5 pounds. When you zoom into Miami, it actually goes up to about 8 pounds. So there's something here that we're doing where we're generating more waste than the average individual. And not only that, we are facing a lot of challenges when it comes to managing that excess waste that we're producing. They estimate that globally only about 9% of plastics have been recycled. Here in Miami, the only plastic that curbside recycling accepts is a plastic bottle. So like a water bottle or a soda bottle, but they don't accept plastic cutlery, plastic straws, plastic clamshells, plastic wrapping, none of that. And so zooming in on just the only plastic we create, or we can recycle, which is bottles, only 1% of those were recycled in Miami-Dade County in 2020. And so our recycling really isn't where it's at. We also loved using this picture because it's a pizza box that says from, I think it's Domino's, wherever, that says to recycle it. But if you know, we're not supposed to recycle dirty, greasy pizza boxes. If you're really motivated, you cut off the top, but misleading. Landfilling isn't also a great solution. We don't have infinite space to continue building landfills, and they're harmful. They leached harmful toxins into groundwater, and we are running out of space. We actually have a landfill in North Dade that they're proposing doubling in size. That would reach about 250 feet if that gets approved, and it would be like one of the tallest points in South Florida. They're also proposing another landfill in South Dade. But we can't just keep building landfills until we live on trash. And then there's also incineration. I don't know if you guys on this call saw the news back in February where our main, what they call waste to energy plant, aka an incinerator or a trash burning facility, Covanta in Doral, that actually burned for 3 weeks and kind of burnt to the ground. It hasn't reopened. There were harmful air emissions, and we used to send more than half of our county's waste there, and now we don't have that source, which is also contributing to our burgeoning landfills. And even if this incinerator was properly working, incineration isn't a zero waste solution. It produces toxic ash at the end of the process, and it also emits harmful emissions, including greenhouse gases, along with air pollutants that are threatening human health. And so it's not zero waste. There are those resultant outputs from this process. That's my rant on waste management. And so there are things you can do to successfully reduce plastics through bans and regulations. Single-use plastic bans have been shown to work. This is just one awesome example where they banned plastic bags in San Jose, and you can see these numbers where they see more reusable bag use, 59% less bag litter on the streets. And this one's incredible, about 90% less plastic bags in storm drains. Like, that's just incredible results after this ban. But Florida is a unique situation where we have faced some barriers when it comes to passing these bans like this. So I don't know if you're familiar with a preemption, but a preemption is kind of, if we, here in Florida, we have a preemption on plastic bag regulation or plastic bag bans. And so what that means is we're preempted or banned from banning plastic bags at the local level. So you can think of it as like a ban on bans. And these exist in other forms of regulations too. And right now, unfortunately, we have a preemption on regulating plastic containers. So anything that can contain, which is like a cup or a bottle or a bag or a clamshell. You do see straw bans because those are technically not containers. We also have bans on banning styrofoam. You will see that in the city of Miami Beach, there is a ban on styrofoam, and that is because that passed before 2008 when this preemption was implemented. So it was grandfathered in, but right now we can't pass any future ones. On this note, City of Coral Gables tried to pass a plastic bag ban a few years back and got overturned and reversed. They weren't allowed to pass it, so wasn't able to work. And so, sorry, I skipped ahead a little quickly there. But so because of that, we're kind of in a situation where we're like, okay, how can we still get businesses to stop using these harmful plastic items until, well, we can't ban them? What are things we can do? And so we've been working with local governments in Miami to create these programs that recognize and certify businesses for voluntarily eliminating these items anyways. And so that way they're encouraged to, they get recognized, and it incentivizes that change anyways. And then maybe one day we can take up to Tallahassee a list of all these businesses that are not using these products anyways. You should definitely let locals lead and let us, repeal that preemption and let us pass these bans. But in the meantime, we're doing this. And so it started in Miami Beach, where we worked with City of Miami Beach Sustainability Department to create Plastic Free MB. It's a tiered program. So level 1 is having eliminated one item. Level 2 is 2 or more, and level 3 is 100% plastic free. And this was limited to the barrier island of Miami Beach because it was a City of Miami Beach government program. But it did really well, and Miami-Dade County wanted to create a program that was accessible to everyone throughout the massive Miami-Dade County. And so that is where Plastic Free 305 was born. Also wanted to mention that Commissioner Higgins created a Greener Coral Way tiered program similar to Miami Beach before the county one was passed, but it all kind of led to an exciting large-scale county program. And so that's kind of all setting the stage for what Plastic Free Cities is. And so this is an exciting newer project where we partner with Ocean Conservancy and Big Blue and You, thanks to funding from the NOAA Marine Debris Program. And this involves empowering youth in their communities to go to businesses and talk to them about reducing waste and getting them to sign up for Plastic Free 305 or getting them certified for this program, and empowering them with other skills and activities to help continue reducing plastics in their community. And so it's a 2-year project that we're about halfway through. So zooming into a little bit more of what this looks like, this is kind of the framework where first there is training. And so the way we have it set up is we have a 5-week training program that I have a slide on after this, where the students are trained to have the skills that they need to do kind of these business visits and consulting with businesses in their community to reduce waste. And then the second major component is business canvassing. So that's when we go in the streets of their neighborhoods and go door to door to these businesses and talk to them about what they learned in the classroom and what they can do to join Plastic Free 305. And then finally, there's an outreach component where the students help us plan and host events. And then I included this map because we have a specific geographic scope for this grant, which is inland neighborhoods along the Miami River, so that we are engaging communities in sustainability efforts that might not have had the opportunity to do something like this before, and share the knowledge about, what a watershed is and how even our inland actions can impact our waterways, and debris that flows into the canal systems and our storm drains and in the Miami River does reach our Biscayne Bay. And so this map is kind of our focus areas. We worked in Hialeah last semester, and now we are in Doral, Menley. So then for the zooming into the training, which is kind of part one of this grant, like I mentioned, there were 5. I wanted to quickly add that the goal of the end product of this grant is going to be like an SOP, standard operating procedures, and curriculum and lesson plan packet that we can share with anyone that wants to replicate this in their neighborhood or community. And so we already have some things available. And then by the end of the grant, we'll have more. But keep that in mind as I go through these slides, if this is something you want to do, and you can modify it. Probably if you don't have time to do 5 training sessions with the kids, you can reduce that. But again, this is modifiable. But what we did was we did do 5, which I do recommend if you have time, because it is a lot of things to learn before doing something like this as a high school student. And so the first training session was all about plastic pollution. What are plastics? Where are they found? What's the scale of the problem? What does this mean for marine life, for climate change, for human health, for social justice? And then we go into session 2, which is solutions focused. And so we talk about what they can do as an individual. We talk about what governments can do, and we talk about what our governments can't do due to preemption. And then we introduce the concept of these business certification programs. The third lesson is all about sustainable business. They learn about what things businesses can do to reduce waste and save money. We like to provide recommendations for things that have a wonderful business case. We don't want to hurt businesses financially. And I'll go into this towards the end of this talk to give you a little kind of crash course example of that. Because what applies to sustainable business does also apply to kind of our day-to-day lives too. Training 4 is all about youth advocacy. We talk about local leaders, young leaders that have already been generating change in their communities, that have started nonprofits or gone and spoke at different events, and just kind of empowered them to feel like they can make significant changes because they can. And then the last section is all practicing public speaking and doing kind of business mock visits to get them ready to go and do it in the real world. One thing that is readily available, and I'll have a QR code to this at the end as well, is this training manual that kind of covers the most important points of all those 5 trainings that I just went through. This has been vetted by the higher ups of Ocean Conservancy and also of NOAA, our funders, National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration. And so it has the best of the best verified information. I'm very proud of it. We have it in English and in Spanish. And so I can send that to anyone who's interested after this talk as well. So that kind of covers training. So next we'll kind of zoom into part 2, which is the business canvassing component. And so that's when we go door to door to these businesses and talk to them about what we're doing, how to reduce waste, all that. We'll go into it. But to start, figured we'd start with some goals of business canvassing, which number 1 is obviously reducing single-use plastics. If we can help businesses switch to reusables or switch to alternative material disposables, that is awesome. Or if they can just cut something out of their business models in general, that's great. But not every business is going to want to work with us, and that's okay. That's expected. But excitingly, like every business that these students visit is going to be impacted, seeing a group of youth in their community having the skills and passion and interest and confidence to go and tell them about what they care about. And so even if not every business works with us, every business that we visit is going to receive a certain level of education and be impacted by the experience. We really want to sign businesses up for Plastic Free 305. One, because they get awesome recognition that we'll go through, but we want to grow this program again. So maybe one day we can show how at Tallahassee, so we can show this large list of businesses doing these actions anyways. And it just builds hype around the program. The more businesses we get signed up, it'll kind of be a snowball effect where once it gets popular, businesses will say, oh, I want to be a part of that too, and get motivated to join. So big goal there. Like I mentioned, we want to help businesses save money and attract more customers. At the end of the day, businesses are businesses and it's tough out there and they have to meet their bottom line. And I know some sustainable alternatives are definitely more expensive than very cheap cracked plastic alternatives. But there are strategies you can implement to offset these costs and save money. And we want to do that for them. And then we want to build community pride, especially as we're working within, I don't think I mentioned actually, within that map I showed you, we work in a different neighborhood every semester. So we did Hialeah last spring, and now we're at Doral Medley on this fall. And it really builds a sense of community pride in that program and just kind of spreads the word and pride around sustainability. And so what does business canvassing look like? We ended doing about 3 days of canvassing, normally spread out within a week of each other after the 5-week, 5-part training. And we meet at the school. We actually have, if you can see the picture's a little small, but on the far left, there's a wonderful 2-level wheelie cart filled with a bunch of sustainable business samples, including reusable items, compostable items, canned waters. We wheel that around with us to give to these businesses to be like, try this product for a few days, let us know what you think, and just let them try them out. So we load up our sustainable business cart, gather all the students, and then we go and start walking to businesses nearby. And before we go into a business, we kind of group together outside and assign roles because, again, doing something like this in high school is very intimidating for most. And if we assign them each a specific role, it makes it a little bit more approachable and it goes smoothly. And so those roles will be one student does the elevator pitching. And so they're responsible for going in, introducing themselves, saying what school they're from, what they're doing, why they're here, and ask if they have time to chat with us. Another student will do the plastic survey. So we do have a survey that the students kind of fill out as they interview a business owner or manager about their business practices. Another student will be responsible for giving samples and having them come and check out the cart. And so we usually, make it approachable like that. And it's gone really well. So then that's kind of an initial visit when we first meet a business, but we also prioritize doing follow-ups and revisiting the same businesses when we can within the canvassing periods. So that based off of the results of the initial discussion and the initial survey, we can follow up with recommendations and additional samples based on how that first meeting and interview went. And so this is an example of dropping off one of these recommendations to a business in Hialeah and kind of what their best opportunities are, what we can do with them. And this business actually, they just had to rebrand to El Sartén. So if you're looking them up, look up El Sartén. But they joined level 1 of Plastic Free 305 with the students and are also working with us to purchase these really awesome reusable cafecito cups to replace some of the styrofoam. And so that leads into this slide because I mentioned we purchase items for them. So one thing that we built into this grant, which is super important and we're excited to have the resource, is small business stipends that we can give to a student, or not to a student, that we can give to a business if they want to purchase reusables, if they want to purchase some biodegradable disposables, if they want to purchase a water refill, anything with the goal of reducing waste. And so we can offer that to about 3 to 4 businesses per neighborhood that we're in. So that's an amazing perk and can really help lower the barriers to trying out some of these opportunities. When it comes to joining Plastic Free 305, they get put on the county website. There's an interactive map where you all can go and check out members and show them your support by visiting them and thanking them for their plastic freeness and ordering any of their food. They also get a welcome packet and a window decal and a marketing packet. And the program's new, so we're trying to beef up the welcome packet more and more, but this is what we're starting with. And they also get promoted on our social media accounts and our newsletters, blog posts. Every now and then, our partner Ocean Conservancy offers to let us do a guest blog post, and they reach millions of people. And so we really try to put together a package that really rewards these businesses for working with us. So then the last major component of the grant is these community outreach events. And so each school works with us to plan and host their own event. And this is really fun because at the beginning of the semester, we kind of give everyone a task. And so one student will be responsible for the flyer. One student will be responsible for drafting social media posts to promote the event. One student will be responsible for securing food, and we always get food catered from a business that spent a lot of time with our students. And so they really take ownership over this, and they invite their family and their friends so that they can come and see what they can come and see what these students are doing and be very proud of them. We also invite local elected officials. This individual in the red on the left is a councilman in Hialeah, Brian Calvo, who is very supportive of the program. And it can be a cleanup, but it also can be any old kind of awesome sustainability event that is of interest to the students to give them creative freedom. And so this picture on the right is actually from this weekend's event. In the spirit of Art Basel, we did a trash Basel celebration and made marine debris made artwork from marine debris, not marine debris from artwork. Wanted to do that. But yeah, the community events are really fun. So then one more part of this program that is one of my favorite parts is the mentorship program. So this is spearheaded by Big Blue and You, another nonprofit in the area that's one of our main partners. And this involves keeping students on that really liked the program from a previous cohort as mentors so that they can help train future students to participate in the program and become these plastic-free cities junior sustainability consultants. And so what that looks like is we ran the program in Hialeah. Now we have a group of 3 students that have stayed on. 2 of them are working together to start a plastic-free cities club at their school so that students at their school can go through the program led by the mentors and continue working with businesses in Hialeah. And another one of our students goes to school in Hialeah, but is actually from Doral. And so the way he's continuing on is he is helping to train our Doral students and he joins for their training events when he can. And then he also comes canvassing with them. And he came to their community event this weekend. And so this is a really amazing initiative because it keeps the program alive when we have to move into a new geographic area. And the students just grow so much as they become mentors. And I do have a slide on that in the impact section. And so moving on to some of our preliminary impacts, we do surveys with the students both at the beginning, all at the beginning, also in the middle, so in between, well, before canvassing, but after training, and then also at the end when they finish the program. And so we have results. These are all from Hialeah. Once we get the outgoing survey responses from the Doral students, we'll make a new revised database. And you can see these kind of, for the most part, just gradual increases in knowledge levels. So this is self-reported knowledge levels on a Likert scale 1 through 5. But you can see the growth between orange being the pre-survey, light blue being the check-in, and dark blue being the outgoing survey. Just these awesome increases in knowledge of plastic pollution, knowledge of sustainable business, comfort with public speaking. I think it's really interesting. Obviously, it's very small, but that the comfort with public speaking goes down after training, but then up after canvassing. It almost makes me wonder if the training makes them nervous to public speak, so it goes down a little because they're about to go out in the community, but then they go out and realize that they're awesome. One other thing we captured from this survey is their kind of overall concern about plastic pollution, which was rated as 4.2 out of 5 for our Hialeah student. And so this is really showing that Even though these students live in inland neighborhoods, they do really still care about plastic pollution, which is amazing. We also ask them about activities they'll commit to so that there's more far-reaching impacts long term. One of the most notable ones is 92% of students committing to using reusable water bottles. Another component of program impact, going back to the mentors, is the impact of the mentors and what they go on to do. These two on the left of the leftmost picture are two of our mentors from Hialeah that ended up flying to DC with Big Blue and You to talk to our state representatives about why they care about plastic pollution. So amazing. In the middle on the right, this is one of our mentors from Hialeah that went to a City of Doral Zero Waste workshop hosted by Florida Rising and presented about plastic-free cities to this group of largely adults. And then here on the far right, that's another one of our mentors. Who's also on the far left, Ale, who came and attended our Doral event this weekend and spoke about his experience in the program and how he loves being a mentor and encouraged our Doral students to join the program, the mentorship program, which I think a lot of them are, which is super exciting. We've also seen lots of businesses in these areas join Plastic Free 305, including El Sub 10. That was the one that used to be Bamboo Restaurant and Lounge. Rocky Sushi, they're 100% plastic free, which is amazing. And the Doral Yard, they're a level 2 member, so they've eliminated plastic bags and containers and are putting up signs that we gave them to only give out disposables upon request. Another exciting kind of impact and just like overall feedback was the response we've seen from local elected officials that we weren't expecting. After Hialeah's program, Councilman Calvo gave each nonprofit a certificate of appreciation, and former Senator and now County Commissioner Renee Garcia attended our graduation event and gave the students a tribute from Miami-Dade County recognizing their work. And then more recently in Doral, we had Councilwoman Maureen Porras actually come canvassing with the students, which was really amazing. Okay, and so I just wanted to end with a super crash course and then make sure we have time for questions, but a crash course in sustainable business, kind of an abbreviated version of that training for you with our students so that you have some of this knowledge and can take that into your communities after this webinar. Have a quick drink of water. And so this is kind of our hierarchy of sustainable business steps you can take, in our opinion. And so the first one is reducing single-use plastic purchasing. The second is replacing single-use plastics with reusables. It's not always possible to use reusables for everything. So our third is replacing plastic disposables with compostable disposables. And then finally, proper recycling of bottles, cans, and paper, which I put as our fourth because I was already talking a bit about the issues with recycling, but it is important to recycle right when you can. So I'll jump into all of these quickly. So when it comes to number one, reducing plastic purchasing, this is just things that you can cut out without having to necessarily replace with a reusable alternative. So for example, straws. Those you can just eliminate because you don't need them. You can keep a couple on site for people with disabilities that do need them and request them. But apart from that, you can cut them out and you will save money because you're just not purchasing that item anymore. Something else you can do is only giving out disposables when a consumer requests it. So that can mean if you're packing for your carry-out orders and you have plastic cutlery, and I'm sure you all at home have your drawers filled with plastic cutlery that you don't need. You can educate your staff to only give those out when specifically requested. And I know some of you on this call probably request that on your Uber Eats, they don't listen, but we'll get there. Another option for like cutting out what you don't need, I just love this example of fresh produce that's packaged in plastic for no reason. We can eliminate that. And again, guaranteed saving money, guaranteed reducing effort to the time it takes and the employee staff that it takes to package this tomato in styrofoam and cling wrap. And then buying in bulk. So one example, if any of you guys have an office with a little coffee station area, if you can buy a kind of bulk creamer rather than a bunch of the tiny single-use plastic cup creamers, which is still plastic, but it produces less plastic at the end of the day. So number 2 is replacing plastics with reusables. So if you are a dine-in restaurant and you're currently using disposables for dine-in, you can replace those with reusables. And we actually have a funding source even outside of this grant. You don't have to work with us. There is a nonprofit called Plastic Free Restaurants that will cut a check to any business that's replacing plastics with reusables. It's pretty amazing. Definitely check them out. You do need a dishwasher for switching to reusable. So if you don't have one, there is an awesome, easy 3-sink method of washing where you just need 3 bins and specific solutions. It's FDA approved to sanitize reusables. And yes, a reusable item is going to be more expensive than the single-use plastic version. But again, we have money to help you pay for that. And 2, once you invest in those, you're not going to have to be ordering hundreds of disposables every single week to use every single week. And so after that upfront investment, you will regain those costs and then start saving. And we actually have a calculator on our website that helps you calculate how much you will save from switching to reuse. But reuse isn't always possible. So the best kind of disposable option, in our opinion, are these backyard compostable items made from natural materials. So think wood, think bamboo, think wheat straw, this palm leaf. I think you guys can see my arrow, which I'm sorry if I've just been like jiggling it this whole time. But on the bottom right, those are palm leaf plates. So they take leaves that have fallen off palm trees and use that instead of discarding it. They use it to make these plates. Amazing using waste for new purposes. But this list, and you'll see we have a catalog on our website. I actually don't think I have a link in this presentation, but it's debrisfreeoceans.org/responsible products. We have a full catalog of these products, and you'll see there are no bioplastics on there. So that's no agave straws, which I actually have one at my desk. I don't know if you've seen these. These are agave straws and so this is a bioplastic. And what that means is it's better than a petrochemical fossil fuel based plastic in that it's made from a natural, more renewable feedstock, such as agave, but it's chemically modified in the lab in such a way that makes it behave almost identically to a plastic. And these actually don't break down in the environment or in like a backyard compost if you have your own compost at home. These do break down in industrial composting facilities, like these large scale facilities where they add heat and overturn the compost and help create conditions to break this down. But we don't have that in Florida. So bioplastics are not biodegradable in this state. So we don't really support them. So that's my bioplastics rant. I want to not spend too much time on that. Clearly it's something I'm passionate about, educating about. On the note of compostables, this is kind of next level. It's a more challenging step, but if you are using these biodegradable disposables that are truly biodegradable, it is important that you try to one day set up a composting system, because if those biodegradables end up going to landfill, they pile up and enter low oxygen environments where they won't really break down. And so it's good to compost them. If you want to compost at your house, I started composting a few years ago, actually during the pandemic. It was a new hobby. I was very scared and nervous, but it went great. So I'm happy to talk about that after the slide. But there excitingly are more and more composting providers that will actually come and pick up your food waste and your biodegradable waste from your house and take that out to their composting farms and then drop off a new bucket for you. And so they do that at your home, and they also do this at businesses if you're a restaurant owner. 2 local examples are Compost for Life along with Soilmate. And yeah, you could set them up to work with you at home, and also if you're a business owner, or they also work with events. It's pretty awesome. And so again, it helps them from contributing to a massive landfill buildup, but then also greenhouse gas emissions, because food waste and landfills emit, when they end up in landfills, they're associated with methane off gassing, which is a super potent greenhouse gas. And so you're helping with waste and climate change, 2 of the biggest threats to us at the same time. So it's a win-win. Finally, I have recycling as last, again, because we see pretty low recycling rates, but still great to recycle right rather than throw everything out. Just don't use it as your excuse to keep buying plastic bottles. So this is kind of just a quick list of what is actually recyclable in Miami. Like I said, for plastics, it's only those narrow neck bottles. For glass, it's unbroken glass items. This is actually per the county website, and I've been meaning to. I say this every time I read off the slide that I'm going to reach out and be like, "How does glass not break when you're transporting it?" So I will report back on that. Aluminum, pretty much anything non-hazardous, and then paper, any office paper or cardboard. It does need to be cleaned for the most part. Otherwise, if the contamination levels are too high, they'll send the whole bale to the landfill. When it comes to picking your favorite recyclable product, this is kind of our hierarchy of water option, where plastic bottles are last because their recycling rates are very low and they lose quality every time they're recycled. We put box water in the middle because it is made from biodegradable cardboard for the most part, but it's lined with a thin layer of plastic that can contribute to microplastics in the environment and makes it a little more difficult to recycle. And then our favorite are canned waters. This is because aluminum has the best market. It's the most commonly recycled item right now. And they believe that it's pretty much infinitely recyclable, meaning aluminum can be recycled over and over without losing quality, which is different from plastics, where every time it's recycled, it loses quality. You might have to, if you want to keep it at its current performance level, you'll have to add virgin plastic to it, or it gets downcycled into something like carpet. So I think I'm doing okay on time. This is my last slide. Just wanted to reiterate that we are very excited to share the Plastic Free Cities program kind of scope to anyone interested in implementing it. In terms of free resources, our manual is available now, and our curriculum and training materials and lesson plans are in progress. We're just kind of finalizing. We tweak it as we go, and then at the end of the 2-year program, we'll have a final curriculum packet and kind of SOP for executing everything. That will be publicly available. And so with that, we have a quick poll before we stop for questions. So I'll read this out loud quick in case any of you are on your phones. So please indicate your level of agreement with the following statement. I learned something from participating in this webinar. I won't be offended if you say C, but A is strongly agree, B is agree, and C is disagree. Guys, it's okay if you say C. I won't be upset.
All right, we'll give that a few more seconds. Looks like we almost got everyone. All right, thank you guys so much for participating.
All right, I'll go to my last slide. And so if you have any questions, we can break and you can put them in the chat or unmute yourself. This is my email. Feel free to reach out with anything if you want the training manual, or you can scan these QR codes here and download it now. I can also add you to a list. I have a list of people that want kind of the full Plastic Free Cities packet once it's ready at the end of the grant. So I'm happy to add you to that list. You can follow Debris Free Oceans at Debris Free Oceans. And then we also have a Plastic Free Cities account. That's small, we're working on growing it, but that provides specific updates related to Plastic Free Cities by itself.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Maddie, for that wonderful, insightful presentation and sharing all those resources. I think, it's such a great opportunity to engage your community and, teach folks about this important message and getting them involved in this practice. I think that's what's most important here is the involvement and being able to reach their communities where they are. So with that, it's about 6:45. So if you have to leave us, that's totally fine. We will stay on and answer any questions that you might have. Thank you again for tuning in to our webinar. As a reminder, this was recorded and we will be sending out that link in the next few days. I also wanted to quickly announce that as we move into the new year, We will be moving this series as Conservation Conversations from a monthly to quarterly format. So please keep an eye out. We're going to share those upcoming webinars, the next year's topics, in the next few weeks. And we hope you can join us for our first presentation of next year. It's happening on Valentine's Day on Wednesday, February 14th at 6. All right. So I'm